to this to kind of get you all of the information you need to know before you head out. But first, I want to take a look at what is making headlines tonight. You can find a lot of these on our website, KUTV.com. Our governor, Spencer Cox, has ordered all flags at state buildings lowered to half-staff. This in honor of the Nashville shooting victims. That incident, of course, taking place yesterday. We went in depth on it last night here on 2 News Live. It is day number 6 of the Gwyneth Paltrow ski collision trial that's taking place in Park City. The jury heard from a ski collision expert who testified about the dynamic and sometimes chaotic nature of skiing. Also making headlines tonight, a woman at Spanish Fork is missing after a fire completely ripped through a home. This happened in the Somerset Village area, 1200 South, 2970 East. Finally, making headlines, also findable on our website, KUTV.com. As snow melts, are you in the imminent danger of flooding? Well, here's an interactive map. You can find this. All you have to do is head to our website, KUTV.com, put in your address, and it can tell you if you are in a flood zone or if your property is at risk. All those headlines you can find them on our website, KUTV.com. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us throughout the show. It's easy to do. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join the conversation. You can always find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The cool kids are on TikTok these days. Just send a direct message there to weigh in. Speaking of cool kids, Chase Thomason is here talking about everything you need to know with your first alert forecast. But here's the talker. My goodness, we're going to go in depth on this topic tonight. What are you going to show us?
We've seen so many avalanches within the last 24 to 48 hours, so we're going to take you into the mountains and explain what's kind of going on with our 3D technology.
Goodness, that is some deep snow. Look at that.
Of course, it's been an all-time snow year, right? And typically when we get some of these avalanches or these slides, they happen on steeper slopes than 30 degrees or greater. So we always talk about those steeper slopes. 30 degrees or greater typically is when we see those avalanche slide. Of course, we have all that snow in the mountains right now, and with these changing temperatures, especially in the spring, we get these big fluctuations, right? That can make that snow layer a little unstable. It can weaken that snow. Now, with some of these nights that we still have, it's cold and clear. We do get some breaks in between storms. Some of that snowpack really rots out, and then we get our next storm. We get rain, we get wind, we get snow, and then with all that, we have a new snow layer on that weak layer, and you need a trigger to get a slide. But that can happen naturally. You know, a rock, a little piece of snow falling, hitting some of that.
Sure, or it can be intentional or unintentional from a distance.
Right. You have a person, a skier,
yep,
a snowmobiler that we've been seeing that can cause those slides.
A hiker, a snowshoer.
That's right.
It really, the list goes on.
So of course, we talk about that, risk, if it's even moderate or considerable, that's actually when we see kind of those higher fatality, because when it's high or extreme, that means folks kind of don't want to risk it.
Dial it back a bit.
When it gets a little bit lower, folks kind of take those risks. So something that we're watching, avoid the backcountry, those steep slopes. Of course, we still have more snow on the way, so our avalanche danger later in the week might be going up. So let's get right to your forecast. Here's what you can expect going forward. That avalanche danger, as I mentioned, will increase later in the week because of this storm system right here. It's going to bring in that wind, which unstables that snowpack as well. We have a little bit of rain, then we have some snow and some colder air. It's got everything that'll be moving in tomorrow evening through Thursday and into Friday morning. So ahead of it, we got that wind, as I mentioned, out of the south. Wind advisory is out, gusting to 55 miles per hour in western Utah, where we have the wind advisory. However, where we don't have the wind advisory, it's still going to be breezy. We're going to see winds 30, maybe 40 miles per hour. Higher gusts are possible in the mountains, especially as the storm moves in, where we have winter storm watches in the mountains of northern and southern Utah. Look how much snow we might see, 1 to 2 feet in the northern mountains, and that might be conservative through Friday. I think Conwood Canyons could see more than that. Southern mountains, 8 to 16 inches, and those watches will likely be upgraded to advisories or some sort of winter storm warning as we get closer to the storm. Today's been nice. We climbed into the 50s. We've got some sunshine. Tomorrow morning will be nice as well. And then by tomorrow afternoon, though, that's when the winds begin to increase. Most of your commutes will be dry, but some scattered showers developing Wednesday evening with more widespread valley rain and mountain snow Wednesday night. And then the colder air moves in. Chance for a little bit of snow, hit or miss. Thursday morning, you should be okay for your commute unless you're traveling through the mountains. Midday, some snow rolling through the Wasatch Front. That snow moves into central and southern Utah Thursday afternoon. We have a break, and then what I'm most concerned about is Friday morning. A little trailing kicker, if you will, is going to spark off some snow showers. The lake might kick in, especially north of Utah County. So from Brigham City down to Draper, we could have a little bit of snow for your Friday morning commute, and it could pile up. So here's how much I'm forecasting right now. Looks like 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 inch of rain Wednesday night. Thursday throughout the day, dusting, inch or two on grassy surfaces. But by Friday morning, that's when we can have a little bit of that road slush, at least 1 to 4 with locally higher amounts. So St. George 65 goes to 53 on Thursday. I know, cooler air, a little bit of rain, but the weekend looks real nice. 67 Saturday, Sunday, 71 degrees. Nice warm day on the weekend. Salt Lake, a little bit of rain tomorrow evening. Again, snow showers on and off Thursday and into Friday morning. And then Saturday looks like a really nice day. We do have one nice day to be outdoors. It's going to be a busy day on those slopes, though. A bluebird day ahead of our next storm that rolls into northern Utah later in the day on Sunday, with more rain changing to snow. 40s and 50s. Normal's 58. We're staying below normal.
Some of us just want to be back to normal at this point.
I know. It's coming eventually.
Thank you, Chase. As we continue to track storms, download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood, to get updated forecasts. Live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. Tonight we're following breaking news in Morgan County. A search and rescue mission is happening after an avalanche near Hardscrabble Creek. Lincoln Graves live at the scene for us. It looks like, Lincoln, that scene has cleared a bit over the last hour or so, but what are you seeing here, and what have you seen throughout the course of the afternoon?
Yeah, things have cleared out pretty quickly this afternoon and evening, Brian. It was really a tense situation earlier. The first reports coming in about 2:30. We know that 2 snowcats, they were up on a hillside above Hardscrabble Road in Morgan County. A group of 7 on those 2 snowcats. They were out for a joyride. For those people who may not know what a snowcat is, that's the big piece of machinery that kind of grooms ski runs in the overnight hours. They were just out enjoying kind of the winter day, the beautiful blue skies. One of those snowcats, though, was caught in an avalanche. 2 people were on it. It tumbled down the mountainside about 40 feet. One of the guys inside, he was able to get himself out, but the other guy, he was trapped inside. The people in the other snowcat, everybody started working together to at least expose him to where he could breathe, but they weren't able to get him out of there. He had a really bad foot injury. He was kind of wedged in there, caught between some machinery. So rescuers, they came up on scene. They tell me it was a long extrication process, but they were able to get him out. He was taken to the University of Utah Hospital by helicopter with a really serious foot injury, as I said, but a somewhat happy ending in that we're told both of those men caught in the avalanche should be okay once they overcome those injuries. So everything pretty much wrapped up at this point, Brian.
Graves live for us tonight just outside of Morgan with the latest. Lincoln, thanks so much. We're also learning more about an avalanche last night that killed a man. Family and investigators say the man killed at the Flat Top Mountain avalanche that took place in Utah County about 6 o'clock yesterday evening. 38-year-old Brett Warner. Our Ariel Harrison spoke to the family of Brett Warner this afternoon off camera. They didn't want to speak publicly tonight. Ariel, what did they tell you about Brett?
Yeah, well, I will mention that I was able to speak with some relatives. Immediate family is just very devastated at this time, but I did learn some big things about Brett, who he was, what he loved doing, and also details about what happened. They shared with me that Brett's 39th birthday is just days away. I believe they told me that's coming up on Sunday, so very hard to take that in. They also said that Brett was out on the mountain with his brother that day, actually heading down the mountain to come home. As he was heading down, he actually called his wife, spoke with her on the phone, and then just minutes later, that's when the avalanche was triggered, and his brother got out of the way of the path of the slide, and he wasn't able to. We learned that rescuers are saying this avalanche was one of the most massive they've ever worked on, that in some spots, estimates of, we're talking 30 feet deep of snow. We know that rescuers say they dug 22 feet deep to find him and his snowmobile in the debris. very heart-wrenching details there. Some big things about him, though. He was a family man. He lived to be in the mountains, outdoors, loved Lake Powell, loved taking his kids boating. They sent us some video of him swinging off rocks. He was so passionate about being outside, being with his family. They told us, the relatives, that Brett truly died doing what he loved. Brian?
Ariel Harrison live for us tonight. Also joining us live in studio, Craig Gord with the Utah Avalanche Center. Thank you for being here first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Goodness, things have been very busy as of late. How would you
Absolutely.
describe the state of the snowpack right now, at least in parts of northern Utah?
Right, so it's not a one-size-fits-all forecast. I mean, you heard Chase talk about we've had some rain, we've had some snow, we've had winds that are starting to change the avalanche equation as well. So we're getting a lot of moisture, 40 to 60 inches in the past week. And so right now, even though the snowpack is nice and robust and thick, any weak layer in the pack, or maybe even a density inversion, some stronger snow and weaker snow, man, it is going to reveal its cards. And as we saw in last night's super tragic avalanche accident, I mean, the results are heartbreaking and they're devastating.
Craig, you've been doing this a little while. I want to show everyone out there some video that we just got into our newsroom. Craig, you had the chance to see this video about 5 minutes ago. This is from that avalanche area. This is aftermath video that we just got from the Department of Public Safety. Craig, what do you see in this screen right now?
I see probably the largest avalanche I've seen in over 3 decades as an avalanche professional. And you know, you can just see the massive amount. This thing is super connected. It's not just like a football field or 2 football fields. I mean, this is multiple football field after football field connected, and it looks like in some areas it's not only breaking into some type of mid snowpack weakness, maybe in places it gouges down a little bit closer to the ground. But you know, Brian, this is a massive amount of snow. Even if it was a quarter of this, it would catch my attention because it would be a very large piece of snow. But you can just see that this thing is like a runaway freight train. Once all of that energy is released, I mean, it is just game on.
You could see a portion of this video right now where tracks enter that area.
Of course.
We were talking about wondering at what point these people were down the slope where this broke.
Sure, and still trying to determine if they're climbing or if they're descending. Right. But, you know, think about the snowpack and these weak layers. These weak layers are like a bunch of dominoes sticking up. We add 40 to 60 inches of snow on top of that, some dense, heavy wind-drifted snow. All we've got to do is find one domino that's a little bit weaker, knock the legs out from under that, and boom, now the entire slab is crashing down on top of us. The entire roof caves in on us.
And clearly seen in that video for sure.
Oh, man, it's heartbreaking.
Let's head over to your website. This is UtahAvalancheCenter.org. I want to show you this because right now, this is how things look on the danger rating scale. Considerable, moderate, orange is considerable, moderate down here in the skyline in Moab. What does that mean, Craig?
So what this is an international danger rating system. So on a scale of 1 to 5, you know, 1 is low, that's green. 2 is this yellow, moderate avalanche danger. 3, it's a considerable danger. That means that, you know, we're starting to get into the meat of the matter. Human-triggered avalanches are likely. And then as we get into the high and the extreme, Chase nailed it. He says, you know, the interaction between the two of you guys, you're like, that's when people pump the brakes. They tend to tone down their objectives. Now, what we've got to think about is that in this zone here, for instance, the Ogden area mountains, and remember, the Utah Avalanche Center is a statewide organization. So we forecast from Logan into the Ogden area mountains, central Wasatch, down into the Provo Mountains, out in the western Uintas, Manti Skyline, the LaSalles, and then the Abajos. So we focus in here on the Ogden area mountains, and Drew's a forecaster in the hot seat today. He's talking about areas of considerable avalanche danger. So the red light for me, red flag, is that means human-triggered avalanches are likely. And we're going to key into those steep wind-drifted slopes. Winds started picking up today. They've been pretty robust for the past couple of days. And what we're talking about is most pronounced on upper elevation, northwest to east to southeast. So those are going to be the wind-loaded slopes, okay? That's going to be the most likely place we're going to trigger a slide. Hey, another thing we got going on, it's spring. avalanche conditions can change in just a matter of minutes. So we're also introducing some wet avalanche activity as well.
We'll take a look at another slide in just a
Sure.
moment. Don't go anywhere. Just this afternoon, I spoke with Cooper Nielsen, snowmobiling with a group about 10 days ago up Mirror Lake Highway in the Uintas. He triggered a pretty good size avalanche. Didn't know he even triggered it until he turned around and he rode out of there.
Yeah.
Remarkable he wasn't hurt. His group wasn't hurt. Here's Cooper in detail on what happened. Take a listen.
Third climb up was me, and I ended up causing a huge avy. I triggered one, and luckily it broke from below me. And, the worst part about that was not only was I in it, but I put a lot of people in danger that were at the bottom of the hill.
Watching
was
your GoPro video back, at what point did you realize you triggered it?
So a lot of people will say that, on a big avalanche like that, you can typically hear it, but I was still on the throttle so much that I didn't hear a thing. Didn't see the crack as I was going over it. And right when I turned downhill, I look ahead of me and all I can see is rolling trees and debris below me. And I realized, oh crap, this is huge. I need to get my crap together right now. Right when I made that drop, as quick as I could, I got the avy bag off. Luckily, right as I was entering the debris, and I just got my hand on the handlebars in time to hang on to that sled and try and ride it out.
Would you say you got lucky? This wasn't a worse outcome?
I was extremely lucky. If I would have got bucked off, which I almost did on that first entry point coming down into the avalanche, I would have been buried for sure.
Just remarkable perspective from the first person point of view. What do you make of it?
Yeah. Well, of course, people are starting to get into bigger terrain, bigger objectives. I mean, the mountains are top to bottom, tip to tail white. And so we're starting to get into steeper, more avalanche-prone terrain. Look, what we need to do is simply match our terrain objectives with what the avalanche danger is. That's a day where I call for considerable avalanche danger, and it's not widespread, and that's what makes the danger so tricky. So, a couple of storms coming in. Let's kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Remember, we still have a couple more months left of winter. Check out your one-stop shop for all things avalanche. Of course, that's avalanchecenter.org. No matter how you plan to recreate your skiing, your snowboarding, your snowmobiling, your extreme snow angeling, get the goods to come to our website, avalanchecenter.org.
Craig Gordon with the Utah Avalanche Center, thank you so much for stopping by.
My honor. Thanks for having me.
We've been covering natural and triggered avalanches all this season, human triggered, you name it. Go see our past reporting. Head to our website right now. It is KUTV.com. Also want to continue going in depth on something we've been talking about for the last week now. When you're on the ski slopes, who's responsible for avoiding a collision, a crash? That question coming into sharp focus during day 6 of the Gwyneth Paltrow ski collision trial. Daniel Woodruff has been at the courthouse in Park City all day. He joins us live now. Daniel, thank you for making some time for us here on 2 News Live. What did you make of the conversation today in the courtroom there in Park City?
Well, with regard to what skiers are supposed to do on the slopes, Brian, we heard from a ski collision expert who testified about a number of rules that exist that are posted at ski resorts that skiers need to follow. One of the main ones he talked about was that if you are skiing and someone is skiing right in front of you, that you are responsible for not hitting that person, because the person in front of you, he testified, doesn't have the ability to look back like you have the ability to look around you. So that's one of the main rules that they talked about today. As it pertains to this case, there have been multiple conflicting testimonies. One that Terry Sanderson says that actress Gwyneth Paltrow hit him from behind. Gwyneth Paltrow says that Sanderson is the one who hit her. So that's getting sorted out here at trial. But today that rule really came into focus because that's a critical piece. Who was supposed to yield to the other, and ultimately who ran into the other?
Daniel, thank you so much. We've been covering this on our website, KUTV.com. There's continuing coverage up there. We've been taking a look at this since the trial started a week ago to see our past reporting, including testimonies, everything that's taken place in the courtroom over the last 6 days. Again, all of that, KUTV.com or on that very easy to use 2 News mobile app. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. This is 2 News Live. We stream live 5:30 Monday through Friday. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, also on Stir and News On apps. Thanks to everyone who joined me today, including Craig Gordon from the Utah Avalanche Center. As always, meteorologist Chase Thomason and all of our crew here at 2 News, including everyone behind the scenes. Hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday. We're back tomorrow at 5:30. Have a great night. Okay. Sounds good. All right, here with Craig Gordon, Utah Avalanche Center.
Yes,
Tuesday, late March, things have gotten really dicey as of late. How are you approaching this point of the season?
Well, you know, it's a fat, robust snowpack in general. I mean, we have just had a remarkable winter. But right now, what the snowpack is saying is that all of this additional snowfall, it needs a little time to adjust. And we're getting a little bit of a break today, but then the double-edged sword is we also have some warmer temperatures. We've got strong sunshine. And so right now the snow is, you know, kind of shrugging its shoulders. We come along at the right time, knock the legs out from underneath it. Now we're going to be staring down the barrel of a very dangerous avalanche.
What should the concern be for the next few weeks?
So let's go short term, okay? We've got a storm on tap for tomorrow into the end of the weekend. Elevated avalanche danger the next couple of days, a little bit of a break, and then another one reloads as well. So what's remarkable, Brian, is that weather likes the path of least resistance. I don't see this thing turning off anytime soon. We're going to continually reload the snowpack. And what we need to do is just realize that whenever the snow goes through a rapid change, it's a lot like people. It gets reactive, it gets cranky, it comes to life. And what we need to do is just tone our objectives down. It doesn't mean that we can't ride. As a matter of fact, we can have a blast. And a couple of things we can do. We can either parlay the hard work of the women and the men of the ski patrol and the snow safety teams, go rip some laps at our world-class ski resorts. If we're headed out into the backcountry or rip on the snowmobile, simply tone your slope angles down. Make sure you're not connected or adjacent to any steep slopes above you or connected to you. So that means no overhead hazard. You can have a blast. You can enjoy the greatest snow on Earth, the greatest mountain range on Earth, and definitely be armed with the latest avalanche forecast for the zone that you plan to travel in. You know, because Brian, it's not a one-stop shop. Fits all for each zone. Remember, Utah Avalanche Center is a statewide organization. From Logan down to Moab, western Uintas, and everything in between, we've got your back, UtahAvalancheCenter.org. We'll let you know the kind of terrain you need to avoid, but also